If you want to persuade someone about something, you gather evidence and you present the facts. Your excellent arguments will win. Or maybe not. My mission here today is to help you become a more persuasive person by using a little poetry. I'll introduce to you the micronarrative, these little snippets of speech that lodge in the public collective memory bank and stay there for a very long time. These short phrases can convince people to do things like buy stuff they don't need or vote against their economic self-interest. We'll start in beautiful Alaska for our first example. Every year, Alaskans apply for their dividend from oil royalties, and they can choose to donate some of this money if they want to. One year, shortly before the dividend period, researchers sent out 2 sets of postcards asking people to donate. One set said, "Make Alaska better," and the other set said, "Warm your heart." 30% more people donated in response to the warm your heart message. And those gifts were 55% larger on average compared to the gifts to make Alaska better. I promise I'll show you later why people reacted so differently to these 2 messages. I am currently obsessed with answering 2 questions. 1, why do people donate? And how can we get them to donate more, of course? And 2, why do people so often seem to vote against their economic self-interest? I'm an economist. I'm an old economist. And for all of my professional life, I've believed that people make rational economic choices. But now, I'm not so certain. Other researchers and I are looking into alternative explanations for voter behavior. Stories, for example. We all know that if you want to sell something, tell a compelling story. But the more I looked into how stories influence economic decision-making, the less convinced I was that it's truly an overall story that drives behavior. Rather, what surfaces time and again are short, punchy phrases that spark a turning point in the policy process. A turning point where suddenly an idea catches hold and creates a permanent public opinion supporting or opposing a policy. I ended up diving deep into the cognitive linguistics and neuropsychology literature to find out how micronarratives work. Here we go. The primary driver of a successful micronarrative is recognition. Our brains seek out and find great delight in familiar images, emotions, and sounds. Our task, therefore, in political and economic persuasion is to create phrases so recognizable, so memorable, that people can easily recall these phrases and repeat them to other people. But before I tell you how to do that, let's go south to Texas for an example of a brilliant micronarrative. Texas had a litter problem. In the 1970s and early 1980s, the Texas Department of Transportation was spending over $20 million annually just picking up litter from the highways. They announced big new fines, up to $20 million, or over 20, what am I saying? They announced big new fines, not $20 million, $1,000 for littering, and posted notice of those $1,000 fines on the highways. And this is great. I would expect people would see the signs, do their mental benefit cost analysis, and change their behavior. But the littering continued. Then, in 1984, the Texas Department of Transportation rolled out their new slogan, "Don't mess with Texas." Littering fell 29% that year, and by 1990, littering on Texas highways had fallen 72% annually. So, I just showed you, notice, a micronarrative beat an economic incentive when they went head-to-head. What happens when a micronarrative goes up against opposing facts and evidence? The cognitive linguistics and neuropsychology research tells us accessible memories are believed more. People perceive them as more truthful compared to memories that are hard to recall. And the people who deliver memorable phrases are believed to be more truthful than other people. I'm sure you can see the implication of that. Elections may tip in favor of the candidate who uses memorable phrases. And the research tells us, and this I find fascinating, there's an inoculation effect. If you get in there first with your persuasive micronarrative, your idea will be taking up real estate in people's brains, and essentially their brains will want to ignore opposing evidence or actively seek creative ways to explain away opposing evidence. Enough research. Let's get to work. The topic or the framing of the phrase is, of course, important, but how you construct the phrase is critical. Here are, therefore, 6 tricks from the linguists that will help you recognize and create your own persuasive micronarratives. Number 1, the phrase must be easy to pronounce. Phrases like job creator make excellent accessible memories. Number 2, the phrase must have good visual imagery. If it does, it can last up to a century. An example of that is the phrase creeping socialism. Number 3, violence and reminders of death make memorable phrases. Call estate taxes death taxes. Talk about death panels. And tell people that regulations are choking or strangling businesses. Number 4, humor can draw quick attention to an idea. It's the economy, stupid. That was a winning phrase used in Bill Clinton's presidential campaign. Number 5, phrases with strong emotions are memorable and convincing. Describing a rigged system encourages anger, for example, or calling a child a dreamer evokes our sympathy. And number 6, rhyming and other techniques used in poetry enhance memory. Listen to the repeated consonants and repeated vowels in the powerful phrase, "Don't mess with Texas." And let's go back to Alaska for a moment. Did you notice in the phrase, "warm your heart," there are 3 repeated R sounds? And it reminds us of that warm glow we get when we donate. The phrase, "make Alaska better," on the other hand, has no poetic elements, and it's kind of vague. For a political example, what are the Democrats calling the 2017 tax reform? They're calling it the tax scam. Those are 2 very acrid, rhyming vowel sounds at work in your subconscious. And then there's the unforgettable, "Make America Great Again." It rhymes, it even has a rhythm to it, "Make America Great Again." It's easy to pronounce, and it's emotional, aspirational. So, these 6 tricks from the linguists will make your ideas persuasive. Use these tricks wisely for the benefit of humankind. And finally, let's get a bit meta here. I wanted all of you to walk out of here tonight thinking not just, that was interesting. I wanted you to have a phrase ringing in your ears as you left. 6 tricks from the linguists. See what I did there? I didn't label it 6 rules from the cognitive linguistics and neuropsychology research. So, even an old economist can learn new tricks. Entire industries are devoted to crafting the exact micronarrative that will make you buy something or believe something. Be aware of this and question the underlying facts. Your own economic interests may be at stake.